All right. So we are going to. What's tomorrow? What do we have tomorrow that we've talked about for the last 2 weeks? What is it? Somebody yell it out. What is it? Huh? The kitchen test, our post test. Okay, that's tomorrow. Each of you has your pre-test with the correct answers on it. Correct? You went through that in class like 2 weeks ago. Use that to study. Okay. Also, we're going to do that Kahoot today that will help you even kind of figure out where you're at in terms of what do you need to study more, what are you excelling on, and what areas can you improve in, okay? Are there any questions so far? Thank you. So, we're going to do the Kahoot. You are to put your first name only, no emojis, just your first name so we can get going. You guys only have 15 minutes. Are we listening? You guys only have 15 minutes to get through this entire thing, so we need to put your first name, and that's it, okay? First name only, and we'll get going, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 24, is that what we have? 24? 24 people? Am I counting wrong? I can't. Well, I didn't know if there was 24. That's what I meant. 25? Okay. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'll shut off the lights. I guess that would help. How should you position the pot handles on the stove to prevent accidents? All right, towards the center of the stove, okay? Hey, right now, I'm going to stop us right now.
Guys,
listen up.
This extra talk needs to stop. Please, be respectful of one another.
In between questions, it's not going to work out if we keep talking, okay? I'm not going to say every time, I'm not going to say I'm waiting on you, because frankly, we don't have time to wait on today, okay? It's a short day because of testing, so we have to get through this, okay? And I'm going to tell you the answers and why it is between every single question. So we need to make sure that we're listening. You can react if you want to, but just keep it to yourself. Okay, so you should position the pot handles towards the center of the stove. This prevents you from knocking anything over that could spill on you. It prevents you from wasting your food. You don't want to make a whole meal that takes like an hour and then have it all go on the floor, right? It's not going to be very good, okay? So that is the answer for that one, towards the center of the stove, okay? A lot of us got that right, so good job on that one. We are going to move on. Emerson, Samori, and Ethan are the top 3. If you cut yourself in the kitchen, it's fine to finish your job and then clean the cut later. All right, false. False, right? All right, you cannot cut yourself in the kitchen and clean it later. You have to make sure you get that wrapped, get it cleaned before you touch anything else, okay? Yes, Samori?
Will false always be the right and true always be the right?
It should be, but I'm not sure. Depends on the test. Emerson, Samori, and Ethan. What should you not use to put out a grease fire? We talked about this, watched a movie about this. All right. 99% of us got that one right. Good job. Water, right? What happens when you throw water in a grease fire? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Raise your hands, Zane. Yeah, hold on. We're going to wait for your classmates. Devin, can you stop? All right, Zane, can you repeat that for me? What happens when you throw water in a grease fire? It'll spread over the entire kitchen, right? It kind of engulfs in flames. It's like a mini explosion, okay? So, Emerson, Samori, Briley are top 3. Do not put this into the microwave. What is it? All right, metal. Why do we not put metal into the microwave? Elena?
Spark to catch on fire?
Yeah, sparks. It'll catch on fire, okay? It can make a little explosion within the microwave. Guys, I'm not going to ask again. We can stop this right now and have no review for your test tomorrow. That's up to you. All right, metal is what you're looking for, okay? Do not put metal in the microwave. We've talked about that many times. It's been in our videos that we've discussed. Okay, so that can include any silverware, any cans, anything like that, okay? So make sure that we know that for tomorrow. A lot of us missed that one too, okay? Riley, Kyle, and Landon are your top 3. When opening lids on the stove, open the lid away from you like a shield. True. Yeah, most of us got that one right. You're correct. So you're gonna open it up away from open the lid away from you like a shield, so that nothing kind of splats on you, the steam doesn't go in your face and that kind of stuff. Okay, because it could really be harmful if you do not do it properly. All right, Briley, Kyle, and Landon are your top 3. Kitchen tools are also known as what? Utensils. All right, so you're looking for utensils, okay? Also, I forgot to mention really fast, after every class, I've been writing down the highest scores. In both classes so far, one person at least has gotten all of them right, okay? And then the next 2 only missed 1. So your goal should be to at least only miss, my goal for you would be to miss 0, but you're seeing people get high scores, okay? So, because this is stuff we've talked about for 2 weeks now. So you should know it, okay? So utensils. All right, before beginning to prep raw foods for recipes, you should wash them thoroughly. All right. I like it. I'll wait on you guys. You have 10 minutes. Wait on you guys. All right, so it's important to know that you do need to wash your foods before you prep your foods. You need to make sure you wash them. Also important to know when you're taking a test to always read all the answers before you click or select an answer or before you write down an answer. Okay? All right, we're moving on. Elena, Cindy, and Leela are the top 3. How should you not store leftovers? Talked about this when it comes to food safety. All right, on the countertop. On the countertop, okay? Why do we not store leftovers on the countertop? Craig?
Because you can eat them later.
Because you want to be able to eat them later, right? Yeah. So what happens if you put them on the countertop? What happens to the food? Samori?
No.
Shh. Hey, we don't have 3 Samoris in this class. Craig? Shush. Samori, go ahead. Yeah, they'll spoil. Okay, they'll spoil pretty quickly. All right. Elena, Cindy, Aiden are your top 3. Often found in raw or undercooked foods such as meat, eggs, fish, and poultry. What is it? Salmonella. All right, we talked about how oftentimes we'll hear that you can't eat cake batter or brownie batter because there's what in it? Raw eggs, right? So that's we talked. When you're thinking about this question, remember that you can't eat that kind of stuff because there's raw egg in it. Okay, and that'll kind of help you out when it comes to salmonella versus E. coli. Okay, the other 2 we haven't really talked about, so you should understand that those are not often found in food. Okay. All right, Elena, Cindy, Aiden, your top 3. What should be the last thing to wash in the sink to prevent accidents? Talked about this at least 10 times now. All right, knives. Okay, knives. What you looking for? Capable of burning easily is known as what? It's a vocab term. All right, flammable. Okay? You got it wrong? That's all right. All right, flammable. That was one of our vocab words. Elena, Cindy, Aiden are still the top three. You were able to store raw meat, poultry, and seafood together on the same shelf as other foods. False. All right. Why can you not? Whoa, guys.
Better than you're making us.
Why can you not store raw meat, poultry, and seafood together on the same shelf? Elena?
Because there's these like different types of features to stay fresh.
Okay, you're on the right track. Go ahead. Shh, guys, I'm not going to ask again. Stop talking. Go ahead. Yeah, cross-contamination. That's the big concern we're looking for, okay? Those juices from those raw foods can easily spread onto the other food you're trying to eat without you even knowing about it, okay? So that's why you cannot store them on the same shelf, okay? All right, running out of time. We got to get through these. We need to be quiet in between questions. All right, keep cold foods at temperatures at or below what? We talked about this today in our journal question. We should all get this one right. All right, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? What are some symptoms of foodborne illnesses? All right. Guys? All right, all the above is what you're looking for, okay? Again, make sure we're reading all the options before you click one, okay? Be smart about it. Elena, Cindy, and Ziza are your top three. The most deadly form of food poisoning is known as what? E. coli. E. coli. Are we done? Because you guys still have about 10 questions left. Or actually, I would say more than that. And not that much time. Time is quick. We're definitely not going to find out our kitchen groups if this continues. So, the decision is yours now. I'll leave it up to you all. All right. Which of the following is not a flammable item found in the kitchen? All right, all of the above. All of the above are flammable, okay? Pot holders are flammable, okay? Keep that in mind for tomorrow. I would keep a mental note of what questions you have missed so far, okay? Very important. Elena, Cindy, and Ziza are your top three. Elena and Cindy are right behind you, are pretty close in this game. Becoming infected with harmful bacteria is known as what? Contamination. Contamination. Contamination is what you're looking for. All right. Elena and Cindy, top two. What is a foodborne illness? This is the whole concept of this entire 2 weeks. What is a foodborne illness? All right. Foodborne illness.
I'm done, bro.
Foodborne illness is an illness caused by eating contaminated food. All right. What is foodborne illness also known as? What's another name for it? Zane? Food poisoning. Okay. Food poisoning. That was one of our first vocab words that we talked about. Elena, Cindy, and Ziza. All right, which of the following is an example of a perishable food? We talked about this with Bird Box. Eggs. All right, I'll explain this if we can listen. All right, listen up. So, we talked about in Bird Box how they have, you don't ever see them saying, "Oh, let's find some eggs. Let's open up the refrigerator and find food in there," because by the time they find that all that leftover food is already spoiled because that refrigerator is not running, right? It's not being cooled. So it's definitely eggs, okay? Because it needs perishable food can also be defined as something that needs a source of energy or a source of heat or a source of coldness to last. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so it's not bananas. It's not bananas. They do go bad after a while, but they do not need anything else to stay fresh. Yes, Maury. It kicked you out. Can you get the code from somebody else's Chromebook real fast? Okay. All right. So, Elena, Sydney, and Amron are your top three. We have 2 minutes to get through 5 questions. Let's go. After you cut raw meat, fish, or poultry, wash your what? All right, all the above. Carry electricity or to another item or person is called what? It's a vocab word. All right. Study your study guides. That's my suggestion.
Hi there, my name is Cam Bontrager, and this is my second reflection for my student teaching experience. So in my first reflection, we talked about the sewing unit that we did at Delta Middle School, and we were kind of in the beginning stages of that unit when it came to, my interactions with the kids, my time in the classroom, the kids' familiarity with the topic overall. And this second video that you just watched was about was in my LAMP unit. We were talking about reviewing for our our cooking final, our kitchen safety and sanitation final that we had in the second period class, which was a 6th grade facts class. Throughout my time here, I've noticed that the kids have gotten more comfortable with me in the classroom. They've really respected me in the way I teach. They've really respected, I guess, I don't know if they've noticed, but the lack of experience that I've had. I've heard a few times they have mentioned, Mr. B, you're not a real teacher yet, but we really respect you and we really want you to do well. And we think you're going to be a really great teacher, and I really have taken that to heart. I think it's really nice of them. And so they really made my experience really good in that way. However, there have been many times where my lack of experience and I don't want to say lack of authority, but me not being the official teacher has kind of made them think that they can not walk all over me, but they can talk out, speak out, that kind of stuff during class time. So in this video that you just watched, we were doing a Kahoot review, and there were many times when the students were just talking, laughing or reacting to the lesson that day, and it got to a point where I wouldn't say the word annoyed, but I got kind of distracted a lot because those students that were talking out just kept doing it no matter what the situation was, no matter what Mrs. Kirtley said or what I said. It didn't really connect. Our words didn't really connect with them, and they didn't really take it to heart that we were being serious at that time. So many times you heard me say, like, I'm not gonna ask for you to stop talking again, I'm not gonna wait on you guys anymore, because that day specifically they had testing, so their class periods were only 30 minutes. The first 5 minutes first 10 minutes we spend getting our supplies ready, getting our journal question done, discussing the journal question, prepping the students what we're going to do that day. And so by the time we were done with that, we only had roughly 20 minutes left of class, and they had to get through an entire Kahoot of 25 questions. And so by the time we got to the end of the Kahoot, it got to the point where, we were feeling very rushed, and it got to the point where, the students were not, I guess, not really getting the full material. So now looking back and reflecting on that lesson that day, I think there are many times when we're planning a lesson and that kind of stuff, we have an idea of how we want it to go. We have an idea of, this has to get done today. But when it comes to, when it comes to planning a lesson and actually executing it, we have to take those outside factors in and do what's best for the student, not what's best for our lessons. So I watched that video of me teaching that Kahoot, and I realized it wasn't beneficial to the students for me to rush that lesson that much. It wasn't beneficial for them, for me to get frustrated because they're not taking the time properly. I should have done that lesson on a day where we had the full 50 or 49 minutes. Or even if we had a shorter day because of the Eagle's Nest, if we would have given that 42 minutes, it would have been a much better experience for them. So I think overall, when I'm looking back at this, I really need to understand what I have taken away from it is that we have to be flexible with our lessons, and we have to manage our time well. We also have to think about the students overall and think about, if we rush this lesson today, what's that going to do to their learning? Luckily, every student improved on their score in the pre-test and the post-test. I had many students get 25s, and I believe the lowest score of the day was a 17, but that was in a different class where they missed a few days, but we had, due to time constraints and stuff like that, they had to take the test that day. So again, it was really cool to see that result, but I think students wouldn't have been so pressured, or they wouldn't have been so frustrated if we would have given them that full time, I guess. So I think that kind of lends hand in hand, and it kind of reflects each other. When I'm looking at my teaching style, I realize a lot of times I give the students the opportunity to lead their classroom learning. So if students are talking a lot, or if students are being distracting, I'm going to let them, I don't know how to phrase this. I'm going to let that affect them in a negative way, because I can say all day, stop talking, stop, speaking out, stop being distracted, stop distracting other people. But I mean, they're not always going to a few students will listen and that kind of stuff, but they're not always going to do that listening. They're not always going to listen to me. However, the moment that I tell them, I'm going to wait for you guys to stop talking, and whatever you guys don't get done today is homework, that's when it clicks in their head, like, oh my gosh, we have to get this done today. We have to, stop talking so I can go home and play video games, or I can go to basketball practice without having to be stressed about homework and that kind of stuff. So I think one thing I've learned since being in the classroom at Delta Middle School is, let the students realize on their own terms the consequences of their actions. And so I can remember back when I was in high school, the teacher said, you have the whole entire class period to get this work done. Whatever you don't get done because you're talking, or going to the bathroom a lot, or walking in the hallways and that kind of stuff, that's on you, because I gave you plenty of time, and whatever homework you have is not my fault. That is on you. And I think going back and looking back at that was really effective for me, because in my head I was like, I'd rather be doing anything else at home than doing homework or doing lessons or reading or that kind of stuff. So I think that kind of adapting that teaching style to what I'm doing now is really cool, and seeing how I used stuff that I used to use in the past now is really cool. Something else I noticed in the video was there were times when students were talking about Mrs. Kirtley, would say, that's very disrespectful. You guys need to be listening to him. And I think something I'm really thankful for in my student teaching experience is the connection that I've made with Mrs. Kirtley. We have had a very, very, very good connection. I think a lot of that has to do with me being in practicum with her, and then transitioning to student teaching, and that gave us it took out the awkwardness of meeting somebody like that you're going to be with for a whole semester. It took the awkwardness out right away. It made it to where she can be, that first semester can be the time for introductions, who are you, what are you going to do in life, that kind of stuff. And the second semester, when I was student teaching, can be, content driven. It can be, this is how you be a good teacher. And we don't have to have those awkward, I guess, filler conversations. We can go straight to the content and straight to the education side of student teaching rather than the social side. But we also have had many times where we're just talking about life and we're just catching up. So I think one thing I'm very thankful for is the connection that we've made together so far in student teaching, and I'm really thankful for that. I'm really thankful for this experience overall. And I don't think any student teacher can succeed without having a really positive mentorship or a positive mentor from the other educators in the classroom with you. The final thing that I noticed, and I kind of hinted on this before, was the comfortability or how comfortable students are with me. And I think my biggest advice to student teachers in the future is, create strong relationships from the beginning so that you have a good foundation every single day in class. There were times in that class period where other students were saying, hey, you guys are being very disrespectful to Mr. B and Mrs. Kirtley, like, knock it off, because that's not how we act, that's not how we treat people. And they would really take the peer-to-peer, what's the word I'm looking for? Influence, I guess. I don't really know. They would take the influence or the criticism. That's what I was looking for. They would take the criticism of their peers, in a bigger. It would have a bigger effect on them than what the criticism Mrs. Kirtley and I would. And I think that's something that is very, very cool. That kind of that peer-to-peer criticism or teaching or learning or whatever situation it is, using classmates to teach other classmates is really a really strong technique. And I think that's something that we may not have learned a lot about in 492 or even our practicum class. We didn't really talk about how influential that peer-to-peer connections are, but that's something I really noticed throughout, not only in that video, but throughout the whole semester, is that if a student's not getting their work done, another student will say, hey, get your work done so that we can do something together tonight, or just so that you don't upset the teachers and that kind of stuff. So I think my advice would be to encourage future teachers, student teachers or practicum students, or just teachers in general. If they already are a teacher, they can also take this lesson, but encourage your students to stick up for one another, but also encourage your students to criticize each other and hold each other accountable. I think a lot of that has to do with, in the facts department, in the facts content area, we do a lot of group work naturally with, when it comes to cooking and that kind of stuff. So I think it's easier in our area, in the cooking side, I guess, to have that group collaboration. But I think if you can get that group work together in an effective manner, it would be a really positive experience. So yeah, at this point, I have 5 weeks left at Delta Middle School. I've accepted a full-time position at Pike High School in Indianapolis. I'm very, very excited for the journey ahead. I think it's going to be a lot different from my student teaching experience. In my practicum experience, I was at Muncie Central, which is a high school, very diverse. And then when I went to Delta Middle School, it was a totally different ballgame, because in the high school, you can make lessons feel more real. And you can kind of relate it to their lives more than what you can in middle school. But in middle school, the students look up to you, so they really take whatever you have to say to heart, and they recognize the positive aspects of learning, I guess. So that's going to be an adjustment. Going to Pike High School, which at their high school, it's a 90% minority rate. That's the minority rate of students at Pike High School is 90%. And I think that's very, very, very special and unique to that school, or not unique to that school, unique to the state of Indiana overall. It's one of the most diverse schools in the state, and so transitioning from a very rural and white school in Delta Middle School to a really diverse and big school as Pike High School is going to be very different. It's going to be very different. It's going to be something that might be a challenge at first, creating lessons that target or relate to their lives, because it's in many different classes in multicultural education, we learn that we can't teach the same lesson to every single person the same way, because not everybody lives the same life. And that's something that I'm really excited, also kind of really nervous to get going at Pike, but I think it's going to be something that's really good. So yeah, 5 weeks left. My LAMP is done. My overall LAMP went really well. Every single student, I mentioned this earlier, every single student passed with a score higher than the score they had before. Many of those were 25s. If they weren't 25s, they were at least 23s or 24s. So I think that's really, 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 really special. And I personally love seeing that change. It made me feel good as a future educator to know that, my lessons have a real effect, I guess, on students, and I can create a positive learning environment to where they can actually take lessons away from my unit and apply them to a test or to a project and that kind of stuff. So it made me feel really good. But yeah, I think that's all I need to say regarding my reflection. I'm very excited for the last 5 weeks. A lot of it will be spent in the kitchen, so I'm excited to kind of relax from the hands-on sewing part and go into the more the students start taking the hands-on projects and applying them to their learning. So I think it's been really cool to kind of take a step back and see, how students do well in a group rather than an individual sewing project, how well they do in a teamwork setting and that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited. 5 weeks left. A lot to do still, but I'm very excited for the journey ahead. So that's all I got.